Alright, today we are looking at the Phanteks P360A. Now this is very similar to the P300A, which is a more budget or mid-tier friendly case from Phanteks. Now I did do a how-to building guide for the P300A, and this is mostly similar, just a little bit bigger in terms of proportions and some different materials. But today we also have a Phanteks vertical GPU riser that is not going to be completely on camera, but that's about $30. All right, and then we have some extra fans over here from Phanteks, the SKPWM fans, the DRGB ones, and these are about $13 each. And this case goes for $70. So there's a pricing structure right there in the front of the video, so you guys know what kind of price bracket we're in that we're working with. And if you want a more technical or in-depth video, you might want to go look at my video of the P300A. Anyways, let's get into this. So we're going to get into the disassembly of this case, or just to get it prepped for building inside. So very similar again, we have two capped thumb screws on the sides over here, and once they're unscrewed, this will just hinge out and pull out like this, kind of similar to the rear panel that you see in a lot of cases these days. And again, same thing over here. Okay, so you just slot it back and take it off. Now, I don't know if you can tell on camera here, but you see how this is a more shiny finish to it? I don't know if you can see like the sheen to it, or the shiny finish that we have here. This is definitely different from the P300A, which is more of a matte finish. Now, this is still metal, but it kind of looks plastic in a way, but it doesn't feel plasticky. It's just a different kind of finish. It's more of a stormtrooper helmet kind of look. And for getting the front panel off, just the same thing as before, you just pull it from the bottom. So here we go. And it comes right out. Now, this does not have a built-in mesh or dust filter right over here, but it is mostly mesh. That's going to block out a good amount of dust by itself. So if you are maintaining this case, make sure to blow this screen out every once in a while just to keep up with it. And as you can see here, we have two 120mm fans in the front that come included with the case. Anyways, let's continue on with the rest of the build. And when you take the front panel off, this is where you're going to find your hard drive cage and also your accessories box. So just pull in the tabs, bring out the tray, and here you have your accessories box, just like that. And I do believe this is a removable cage, so if you wanted to make more space down in the basement over here. Now, I do believe there is enough room inside the bottom of this case for a full-size ATX power supply along with a hard drive cage. And as you can see here, it's kind of pushed off to the side here, so there's a good amount of space here to put some extra cables. So I believe there's an extra amount of space here to work with those cables instead of trying to jam them up against the back side of the cage here. All right, and just getting familiar with the back side of this case, we have two SSD slots here, which you can kind of just pop off and slide off and move them as you need be, because there is a third optional mount over here in case you need space for certain things or whatever the case may be. And also we have some cable routing off to the side here, which is fantastic. There's actually maybe an inch or even maybe slightly more. And then we have our cutouts over here for cables to poke through the side over here. So no rubber grommets, but since it's kind of out of the way, it's not necessarily needed. And for a $70 case, that kind of makes up for the lack of rubber grommets here. And then there's also a good amount of depth over here from the frame or the internal frame to where the rear panel would go. And also keep in mind, the P300A and the P360A are both mid towers, but the P300A is more of a compact ATX mid tower case, where this is more of a mid-size or regular size ATX case. All right, and on the top of the case here, it's not too interesting, but you know, we have our auxiliary ports here, two USB 3.0 ports, and then we have some fan controls over here, one for lighting, and I'm assuming for a manual mode or a fan mode of some sorts. And then we have a blacked out power button over here, which I really do like, the blacked out power button. It's a nice little touch there. And then we have a black mesh filter over here, which is magnetic and goes with the theme pretty well. Black and white, very classic looking. Can't go wrong with it. It's done well over here. I would have liked to have seen a USB Type-C port. And now I'm going to install the motherboard. And it looks like we have some cable cutouts off the top over here, and also on the top of the frame over here where your CPU fan cable would go, your EPS power connector. So it looks like you have a lot of options for routing cables, which is nice just upon initial inspection here. If we have to go further in depth, we can, but looks like we have ample space to have our hands working here and have cables running to it as well properly. So let's go and do that. I have installed the motherboard as well as the CPU cooler. Everything went as usual. Of course, there's plenty of space here to work with, and the Hyper 212 blacked out edition was very easy to install. We still have clearance up on top here for managing cables and getting them plugged into the top of the motherboard. That's why I went ahead and installed the cooler now as opposed to later. So now we're going to go ahead and install the power supply. All right, we got the PSU installed, and it actually sits all the way back here, so there's actually space for these two cutouts in the shroud. And then over here for the cables, they actually fit, so we're not impeding on the hard drive cages too much. So what I'm going to do now is install one of the additional fans. I'm going to try to get the GPU vertically mounted. All right, so to get the vertical mounted GPU bracket in, you have to take out all the PCIe slots right here, and then you can screw in this bracket into the PCIe slots. And then it comes with a little foam padding underneath to protect the bracket from the PSU shroud here. So it's pretty nice. It's pretty easy and well integrated. So that's essentially how you install it. If I run into any problems, I'll let you guys know. But aside from that, I'm going to move on and get the cables managed afterwards. I got to admit, this was a great building experience. Very well thought out, especially with cable management. I'll be completely honest with you, I didn't use one zip tie in this entire case. Plenty of space to work with, and it's so well optimized, and the footprint isn't even that large. This will fit on most desks with everything on top of it. Even with the vertical GPU mount, it's far enough back that it's not pushed up against the glass and causing a bunch of thermal related airflow issues. Yeah, but for $70, I'm highly recommending this case. I see that we have screws all around the top here, so you can actually pop off this top panel, which is just crazy. The amount of modularity and compatibility you get with this footprint and at this price point is very hard to compete with, and that's what Phanteks is really good at. I really like the P300A, but the P360A I think is my new favorite, at least in this price category right there with the Inwin 101. Still one of my favorite cases. This is going to be right up there. Again, highly recommend it. Also check out my new desk mat. It just dropped. Actually, there's only a week left to buy it. It is a group buy. Not sure when it will be exactly shipped, but it is a group buy. So if you're into retro and 80s synthwave music and lore and theme, highly recommend getting that. Anyways, I'm going to give you guys some B-roll and close you out with that because I can't leave you hanging without any B-roll. All right, thanks guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.